Bob Burns, and I guess I'm the host here. This is we're sitting on property that used to be a cornfield in my front yard that my father rented out to our next door neighbor. I see some of my fellow classmates from when I went to school here in Piedmont. Grade school was upstairs, high school was downstairs. So I have a long history in this area. I'm also kind of a substitute candidate, second string, so to speak. The candidate that went through the primary process was transferred out of state, and I was convinced by many of my Democratic friends and by many of my Republican friends to run for office. And you know, after 60 years of living in this country, particularly in this state, I just felt it was time to give something back. I went to college in New Jersey, Rutgers University, College of Agriculture and Environmental Science, and that brought me back here. The things that I took there were primarily forestry, watershed management, courses that would help me back here manage the property that I inherited. And I've tried to do that throughout the years. The experience that I've had here locally and throughout the country, I think, prepares me for being an asset in the state legislature. As a host, I'll be brief. I won't wait till I get the hook coming up. So I just want to welcome you all here, and I want to thank the DIA for providing this forum for us. I'm resident here, you know, and that reference to the cornfield, I think is pretty apt, because when this was a cornfield, the corn didn't care what was built next to it. Yeah. Now that this is a building that has a lot of value, it makes a big difference what happens to the property next to it, and we have been desperately in need in planning and zoning. Not only here, this is Somerset, it has planning and zoning. Piedmont is going that direction, but the whole valley has a need for that, and I know it's a difficult thing for many people to accept when they haven't been under that, but it's not the government telling you what you do with your property. It's you being able, oh, excuse me.
Sign back there.
Oh, stretch it out. It's you being able to protect the value in your property by having a coordinated plan developed in an area. And I know Meade County is a big area, and there's certainly a lot of area that Meade County that planning and zoning shouldn't be forced upon. But 2 years ago, the state legislature made it possible for counties to spot zone areas, to take areas that needed that type of control and do it without doing the whole county. To me, that was passed specifically for Meade County, and the county commissioners should take advantage of it. It's a difficult thing for them to do. I know they feel it should come from the people, but I really cannot see someone going down around with a petition trying to get people to sign on to be zoned. It's something the county has to develop, to come forth with, and the people will get to vote on it. They'll have a choice, but it has to come from that direction. Schools is another big issue. It's more of a school board problem than a legislative problem, but it is a problem for the people down in this area. The population is growing here, and yet we're still busing kids all the way to Sturgis. I see my time is up. I could go on for about another half hour. I have 3 pages of notes here, but I'll just end it with that. A little different view myself. I know this whole issue has kind of gotten very divisive. It's gotten into race and religion, church and state. And to me, it's a state park. And you may not know this, but there's private property that goes almost to the peak of their view. If Mount Rushmore had private property going almost to the top of it, we certainly wouldn't want a campground or a pavement-type line to be built there, and we would cry out for some protections. It's a difficult question, though, and I think the people there have to be involved. I know zoning is an issue that's very controversial out there, but I think we need to separate it from the religion and the very divisive issues that have come up, and just think about it as a state park, as a valuable piece of South Dakota, and the investment that people in South Dakota have in it as a state park, and how that can be affected if development would be built, especially right up on the slopes. And we need to find some solutions. People need to come together, take a deep breath, and figure it out. And I know there's a way to do that, and we can just talk to each other. This here sitting next to me, I guess, that the governor, I certainly think, made a mistake on this. And he did it for political purposes. It's my understanding he wanted the stock growers out of there because they were using some of their profits, as is the right of any subcontractor on any project, to use their profits the way they say please, for political purposes, and he didn't agree with what they believed in on some political things. I guess the one thing I would say is that the governor seems to run rampant on a lot of things and does what he wants on a lot of things. He ran over the veterans 2 years ago, and he still hasn't come around to their way of thinking. I think the way to put some roadblock in the governor's way, or giving a little bit of bump in the road, is to have a Democrat from this district. One-party rule tends to be good if you're that party, but after a while, like in anything, the ship of state, if all the oars are on one side, it starts to turn in one direction and go places it shouldn't go. And to get new ideas in there from new people and a different party, I think would help this problem. Well, oh, and it was mentioned that I couldn't be heard. I didn't hold the microphone close to. Oh, is that better? Is that better? Hello? If you don't mind, I'd like to repeat all the questions from the first half. Well, Phil and I are on Piedmont government, and this has been an issue for Piedmont Valley for a long time. And he kind of took everything I had to say. Was that a question or a statement, Phil, that you made? But I know I just roughly added up in my head that there are about $10 million worth of brick and mortar structures, just the big billboards, not the little privately open ones, between Blackhawk and Sturgis that produce close to $400,000 of income a year. That is not taxed for sales tax. It's not taxed for real property tax. They do pay a $15 a year charge to the state for their permit. And I've talked to the state, and that doesn't nearly cover the cost of administration. So effectively, we are subsidizing them. Yes, sir.
They pay more than $15 because as the pastor of Piedmont Valley Lutheran Church, I think we had to pay $48 for ours. This is higher than 15. I don't know. I have any idea what it is. But
well, you were on the DOT property. Maybe you were paying the railroad property. Maybe you were paying that went to the DOT.
We were paying the state license fee.
The Baptists only pay 10.
Depends on the size of your sign.
But that's I know there's as the billboard industry has a very powerful lobby in South Dakota. It's very difficult to buck them. And I know outdoor advertising is important to our industry around here, our tourist industry. I know the new towns of Somerset and Piedmont have passed ordinances. Meade County passed some ordinances. Some of the billboard companies have found ways to get around those. They find little loopholes here and there. But in the long run, it has an effect on our quality of life, has an effect on our property values, and they have to pay their fair share. They make their money off the highways that are paid with taxpayer dollars, and yet they pay nothing. So I don't know exactly how we can tax them, but there must be some ways, and we just need to get together and realize that that is a source of income that we are losing.
I guess that's the question, to tax either on value of property or value of sales.
Both.